Welcome back to Horror Movies.
Today, I will be showing you a thriller from 2019 titled Fractured. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. Ray Monroe is a middle-aged man and a recovering alcoholic. One Thanksgiving, he is driving back home with his wife Joanne from her parents. Their daughter Piri is in the back seat listening to music on her headphones. The adults are arguing about the state of their relationship. Joanne tells Ray that their marriage has been broken for a while. From the backseat, Piri complains about her headphones not working. Ray sings with Piri to keep her entertained. Meanwhile, Piri wants to use the restroom. Ray pulls over at the nearest gas station. He goes inside to get batteries for Piri's headphones and Coke for Joanne while Joanne takes Piri to the restroom. At the counter, the cashier says they take only cash. Ray is short of money, so he skips the batteries but gets 2 small bottles of liquor, a coffee, and a Coke. When Joanne asks him about the batteries, he lies and tells her they didn't have them. After they are seated, Piri notices her compact is missing. The family searches for it in the car, but Piri seems to have dropped it in the restroom. Joanne goes in search of it while Ray gets up to check under Piri's seat. He mistakenly drops his coffee while doing that. As he is cleaning it, Piri gets distracted by a balloon in the nearby construction site. She goes near it and stares at it for some time. Just then, she notices a dog coming towards her. Scared, Piri retreats slowly, calling for her daddy but is stuck between the dog and the edge of a pit. Ray finally notices the dog. He goes near it carefully to try and chase it away, but as he throws a rock at it, Piri gets scared and falls into the pit. While trying to catch her, Ray too falls into it. The screen goes black. Ray wakes up in the pit to a crying Joanne coming down to the pit. He cannot think straight as he looks at Joanne, who is trying to check Piri for injuries. His head is injured too. Joanne comes to him crying hysterically, but he pushes her aside. Ray closes his eyes, and when he opens it, everything seems normal. Piri is conscious but is in a lot of pain. Joanne assumes her arm is fractured. He gently picks Piri up and gets into the car. Joanne is about to call for an ambulance, but Ray tells her there's a hospital nearby and it would be quicker if he drove. While they are driving, Ray nearly escapes an accident. They finally get to the hospital. Ray goes in to get them checked in, but the hospital is packed with people. Joanne sits down with Piri as Ray talks with the receptionist. She tells him that they need to wait for their turn. The 3 of them wait with the others, but Piri is whimpering in pain. Ray gets up again and signs a paper. The receptionist tells him they will be called when the doctor becomes available. He notices the nurse and the receptionist talking about a 15-year-old boy but doesn't think much of it. He then goes back to sit down with them. Piri has fallen asleep in Joanne's lap. She apologizes to him for being too harsh on him. As they wait, Ray's name is called. A nurse asks them for necessary information. The couple starts to get annoyed because of the overly intrusive questions. She also asks them if they want to register Piri as an organ donor, but they refuse. A nurse takes the family to the general ward, and they finally meet a doctor. He tells them that Piri needs a cast. He also asks Piri if she hit her head, to which she answers yes. The doctor is scared Piri has internal bleeding and so, he suggests a procedure. Ray and Joanne decide to stay at a motel that day as Piri gets her cast. She is now taken to get her head scanned in a wheelchair. The nurse tells them that only one parent can go to the CAT scan room with Piri. Ray decides to wait outside. As they separate, Piri tells Ray that she loves him. Ray falls asleep waiting for them. After a long time, he wakes up in the waiting area. He looks out the window to see it is still daytime. Ray freshens up and goes to ask the receptionist about his wife and daughter. The receptionist has changed shifts. The nurse checks the record and asks him to wait meanwhile. After some time, Ray gets impatient and goes to see the receptionist again. This time, the nurse checks the record but cannot find Piri's name in it. Ray gets more and more annoyed by time. He asks for the doctor who checked Piri earlier, but everyone has changed shifts. He bangs the receptionist's desk in frustration, which makes her call the CAT scan room. The person on the other end tells her that there has been no 6-year-old patient that day. Ray asks her where his family is, to which she suggests he might be in the wrong hospital. He keeps on telling her that it is not possible. However, she dismisses him and starts assisting another person. Ray is confused as to what happened and runs to the prohibited area of the hospital. The receptionist sends a crew member after him, but he doesn't stop. When he gets to the ward, officials stop him. He tells them about his daughter and wife. The doctor checks the record for him, but no registration has been made in Piri's name. Just then, Ray sees the nurse who helped them earlier. He demands the doctor to ask her. The nurse recognizes Ray and says he was treated for a head injury that morning, but she doesn't know anything about his daughter or wife. Ray starts to get out of control and blames the nurse for lying. The doctor suggests he has a contusion from his head injury and that he is delusional. Ray then tries to attack the nurse and has to be restrained by the security. However, he gets more violent by the seconds. The doctor has no choice but to drug him to calm him down. He is given a sedative and locked in a room. Ray tries to go up to the door to open it, but the drug starts working, and he gets hazy. He then finds a box of medicine in a cabinet and injects himself with it. This makes his haziness go away, so he tries to unlock the door again. When he fails in doing so, he punches down the glass door and escapes. The nurses see him running away and call the security. Ray walks around the hospital looking for his wife and daughter when he sees the nurse who took them to the cat room that morning. But before he can talk to the nurse, a security guard chases him. Ray runs out of the hospital and somehow manages to get away. He then gets into his car and drinks Joanne's Coke from earlier. Just then, he sees a police car outside. He rushes in front of it and starts blabbering about his wife and daughter to them. The police officers ask him to calm down. He explains everything that has happened. They look at his ID and agree to help him. Ray, along with the two police officers, go inside the hospital again. The receptionist calls security as soon as she sees Ray. But since the police are with him too, the security guard lets them in. They go into the ward again and talk to the doctor from earlier. He tells the officers that there could be a potential mistake in the records. Ray asks to be taken to the cat lab. The doctor takes them to the lab on the 3rd floor, but Ray clearly remembers it being downstairs. They go up and check the lab time. It shows that the only patient who has been there that day is an old lady. They then call the doctor who checked Peary. As they are waiting for him, the receptionist finds the paper Ray has signed in the morning. The doctor arrives just then. He remembers Ray from earlier but says that he came in for his head injury, not for his daughter's. Ray had refused a cat for himself, saying that he had to wait for his wife Abby outside. Abby is Ray's ex-wife, who died years ago. Ray accuses the doctor of kidnapping his family. The final way to confirm his claims is the CCTV footage. All of them go to look at the footage from the morning. But Peary and Joanne are not visible because of the camera's angle. The police officers tell Ray that he needs a search warrant to search the hospital. They start to doubt his story. He shows them pictures of Joanne and Peary and tells them to ask the gas station cashier for confirmation. They go back to the ward, where Ray finds Peary's scarf. He also meets a psychiatrist named Teresa Jacobs there. The doctor and the officers tell him to go with her for a talk. She takes him to a room and shows him his administration file. But the file does not mention Peary at all. Teresa asks him about the incidents before he came to the hospital and about Abby. He tells her that she died 8 years ago in a car accident. Ray insists it has nothing to do with his family now and starts to cry. Teresa suggests they take a look at the place where Peary had the accident because she thinks they might still be out there. Ray and Teresa go back to the construction site with the police. The police search team is there too. They are searching for Joanne and Peary. The search dog finds Peary's compact from where she fell earlier. They also find a pool of dried blood in the concrete. It is way too much to be Ray's. The police declare it a crime scene. Ray now starts to blame the police officer for planting the blood in the mirror. Teresa tries to calm him down. They talk about the incidents that happened before the accident. Ray tells her he was mad at Peary for not listening when he asked her to stay still. He starts blabbering again. Teresa believes that Ray made up the story about the accident and that there was no dog. She pushes him to think harder about what happened. She asks Ray where he had put Joanne and Peary. Ray goes silent and stares into nothingness. The police arrest him on suspicion of the murder of his wife and daughter. But as they are about to handcuff him, Ray snatches a gun and holds Teresa at gunpoint. He asks everyone to put their guns and radios on the ground. He then locks them in the gas station, takes Teresa's card, and flees to the hospital. At the hospital, he takes a gun from the car and walks around the hallway. While he is at it, Ray comes across the maternity ward. The newborns remind him of his accident with Abby. It had killed both Abby and his unborn child. After a while, he composes himself, finds an apron, and poses as a doctor. He is now finally at the elevator, where he saw Joanne and Peary last. But the elevator needs a key to be used. Just then, the security guard from earlier comes in. Ray threatens him with the gun and asks for the keys. The guard attacks Ray. They fight, and Ray strangles the man to death. He takes the elevator to the floor his family was taken to. He finally goes in with the gun and finds Peary's toy in a bin. He sees 2 doctors with boxes of human organs in them. Then, he goes into a room full of dead bodies that had their organs harvested. Now, Ray is sure the hospital is using her daughter for her organs. He walks through the hallway and notices some doctors operating a kit. He looks closely to see it is his daughter Piri. He also finds Joanne in the same room. Ray threatens the doctors with the gun, puts Piri and Joanne in a wheelchair, and tries to run away. However, the doctors restrain him. They are about to inject him with a sedative, but he shoots a piece of hospital equipment, causing an explosion. Ray then runs away with Joanne and Piri and shoots another doctor on his way out. He puts them on the back of his car and drives away. In the car, Piri tells him her arm still hurts. He sings a song to make her feel better, but as he does that, we see the person sitting in the back seat is not Piri but a seriously ill patient who Ray has extracted from their surgery. Ray's mind has created a false reality to shift itself from trauma. Piri had died from falling into the pit, and it was Ray who killed Joanne when he pushed her and had landed on a sharp piece of rebar in the construction site. Their bodies were in the trunk of Ray's car this whole time. The movie ends as Ray imagines Joanne telling him to go home. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.